to each and every one of you guys. You won't see my face today. I'm going to try and do this stream really quickly. This stream is brought to you by LIVE products. LIVE, live now, we're live now. You have a selection of drinks, one of which is not there present. We have 6 different flavors of drinks. These are natural fruit drinks with a limited amount of sugar. You have as your flavors Morbi, grapefruit, sorrel, orange, fruit punch, and guava has now been added to the set. You also have in LIVE products, you have the cleaning products, and we have an array of cleaning products. 4 different kinds of products. We have dishwashing liquid, liquid detergent, we have fabric softener, and we have all-purpose cleaner, also known as disinfectant. LIVE, live now. We're live now. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first in everything that we do, in everything that we say, in everything that we find ourselves associated with. So it's very important. All of this is because of the Most High that I'm able to even do this. I also want to suggest to you guys, if you like this stream, that you can like, share, subscribe. You can also donate via PayPal. The link will be in the description of this stream. My name is Christ. I am Disciple, aka Anson Phillip, and we will be talking about the real world consequences, the real world events that are happening in real time while, RebelMoon, the director's cuts has come out, while RebelMoon, the movie, had come out. And we're going to speak about that in some detail today. So I hope you guys enjoy this stream. God bless you guys, all of you, as we continue in this journey called life. Reasons I am broke. In a Q&A following the fan screening of RebelMoon, the director's cut, Zack Snyder reflected on the journey to creating Zack Snyder's Justice League after the theatrical cut left fans disappointed. Snyder admitted that the decision was daunting, filled with uncertainty about whether the movie would ever see the light of day. Despite doubts, Snyder held on to the weird piece of fate, spurred on by the unwavering support of fans who refused to let the idea of his vision die. The fans were not going to let it go, Snyder said, emphasizing on how their passion kept the possibility alive. He credited the fans' persistence as the driving force behind his resolve and ultimately leading to the alignment of circumstances that allowed him to approach Warner Brothers with the project. To Snyder's surprise, the studio greenlit the endeavor, turning a long-shot dream into reality. Release the Snyder Cut. Shout out to Release the Snyder Cut as well, that was on Twitter, who is now supporting Free Palestine, like myself, like Lord Koj. Shout out to Lord Koj. Shout out to all those who are supporting the freedom of the Palestinian people and their freedom to be able to self-determine their country's future. So going into much more of what we are going to be talking about today, I just started off with this post. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Restore the Snyderverse as we continue along. Of course, just to show you guys some recent stuff here with respect to Warner Brother Pictures, which is not doing very well at all. Warner Brother Pictures, for those of you who don't know, their stock is hovering around $7 a share now. It's under $8 a share almost every single day. The stock has been on a decline. So I want to encourage you guys to continue to be disinterested in what Warner Bros. Has, not to go watch their movies. And yes, it's almost like I'm encouraging you to boycott them. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's important for people to understand that satisfied fans will pay to see, your entertainment multiple times. And I can say that as a fan who went to see Deadpool and the Wolverine. I really don't watch Marvel movies, as y'all know. But Deadpool and the Wolverine is a different kind of Marvel movie. Even though it's funny, the major characters who are supposed to be serious are kept serious. The movie wasn't the biggest storyline in the world. Everybody, it reminds me a lot of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, to be honest with you. But so that the comedy kind of carried the movie somewhat. But what I would say is that it's different. It's different to anything that Marvel Studios has done so far, except for the other Deadpool movies. It's extremely irreverent, but at the same time, it's very, very rated R. It's like a rated R movie on steroids. And that's the way you have to deal with Deadpool. The same thing with when you're dealing with Harley Quinn. It's a rated R movie on steroids. The movie must be rated R. And people say James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, was rated R, and no, no, not like that. Not stupid like that. Okay. Take for instance, Harley Quinn is an unpredictable, extreme character, right? Unpredictable, extreme. She's lovable, but she's unpredictable and very extreme. But take for instance when they did Peacemaker. Peacemaker's not a funny character. Peacemaker's not they played Peacemaker wrong. And James Gunn tends to take all the characters and try and make them lovable and try to make them funny. And that's just not the way you do it. And the Wolverine, is what he is. He's testosterone driven. He's always angry. He's savage, and that's what we got with Peacemaker. Peacemaker's fast talking guy, and Peacemaker's not like that. Peacemaker's different. Peacemaker's like Judgment Day kind of guy. He's kind of like a Terminator. And so that rated R movie and also the other rated R Harley Quinn movie, they flopped because the movie, first of all, didn't go to the edge like it was supposed to. And then second of all, the characters that are supposed to be played straight were not played straight. Or their roles were trivialized. They weren't focused on properly. So these are the things that, Warner Brothers just doesn't get. Whereas Zack Snyder gets it. Zack Snyder gets this. This is why RebelMoon is doing so well on Netflix. I've seen RebelMoon now about 4 times, 5 times from start to finish, part 1, part 2, and I'm only looking at the director's cuts. That's the only thing that's in my likes now, and I'll probably be looking at it for a long time because I'm going to break it down today as well. And it's going to be more RebelMoon breakdowns. And like I said before, this movie is so relevant to today. Zack Snyder's a pop culture kind of guy, and this movie is so relevant today. And you guys are going to see what I'm talking about as we keep on going through this thing here. So, Israel is still bombarding and destroying cities, not only in Gaza, but also in the West Bank and also in East Jerusalem, where there are Palestinian settlements. An Israeli missile strike has targeted the vicinity of Sheikh Zayed roundabout located by Bet Laia and Jabalia in northern Gaza. Okay. Palestinian says occupied northern Israel is under fire. Hezbollah attacked and now Israel is burning. So Hezbollah just attacked northern Israel once again. And this is in a settlement area and it's burning up. And I guess people have died as well because this is actually a settlement area. And totally destroyed a house there. So somebody died there, that's for sure. And I think Hezbollah is going to only intensify that. And it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And what I just read from Reasons I Am Broke, shout out to Reasons I Am Broke. AC Restore the Snyderverse says, I never let go of the Snyder Cut. I'm not letting go of DC Snyderverse either. I hope some other studio, not Disney, buys the rights. I definitely still won't support anything WB puts out after everything they did and are still doing. Restore the Snyderverse. Boycott WBD. Shout out to AC Restore the Snyderverse on Twitter. Bernie Sanders is the only guy standing up. U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders says Netanyahu is not only a war criminal, he is a liar. He said this a while back, but still nonetheless, he's standing up somewhat. He's still supporting the DNC, which is a fascist organization, as far as I'm concerned, supported and propped up by corporations in the United States of America. And Elon Musk, all these guys are just jokers. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Okay. So actually, this is what's going on. It's very Gestapo. Anyone who supports Palestine or even agrees with Hamas' stance, not necessarily agree all around with Hamas' stance, but may agree with certain things that Hamas has been saying, their statements concerning, say, for instance, negotiations, realizing there were a lot of lies perpetrated against Hamas and all of that. Anybody who agrees with that, they say, is a terrorist, very much as in Rebel Moon. Anyone who in any way helped Deborah and Darian Blood Axe were terrorists and enemies of the Imperium, and their worlds were destroyed whether the people knew about their support or not, meaning the innocent people of their worlds, knew that they supported these people or not. Now, here I'm showing you, I want to blow this up so you guys can see. This is Hamas inside of some of the tunnels, wearing, as you can see, army fatigues. Notice that the army fatigues that they're wearing are patterned after the United States Army fatigues, which is pretty interesting, and military fatigues for that matter. There's an Hamas fighter. He's gearing up to go shoot on a range. And this is Darian Blood Axe. Darian Blood Axe is the leader of a ragtag group of rebel fighters along with his sister Deborah Blood Axe, who joins Korah's roar against Belisarius' reign of terror. Notice they mentioned that Belisarius has a reign of terror, which is very interesting because I would say that Israel has a reign of terror right now against the Palestinians and against the world. Anybody who supports the Palestinians, all of a sudden this reign of terror has come down on them as well. And I will talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And here you have Deborah and Darian Blood Axe, again, leaders of the resistance. And they were notorious in this movie Rebel Moon. From the beginning of Rebel Moon, the director's cuts, we see that Atticus Noble is hunting them down, and they just escaped the world of Toa, where King Herman was defending his world. And we see how horrific the Imperium, aka the Mother World armies are. I mean, they destroy worlds in their wake. And it reminds me a lot of what Israel is doing right now and how much of a terror it is and how much it's part of the Imperium. In the Imperium, in this case, the empire is the Western Empire we're talking about, which consists of states such as United States, Germany, France. Well, Spain has bailed out of that. Spain ain't nothing to do with that no more, but Spain used to be part of it. But Spain wants nothing to do with what happened to the Palestinians anymore. You have Great Britain. These are the major blocs, and then you have Israel, which is their representative in the Middle East. So that's basically the empire. And these empires have done a lot of damage over the many years. France, I mentioned France. So France has done a lot of damage in Africa. Of course, the Germans were in South Africa and they had apartheid down there. So, Germany as usual doing their Nazi racism stuff, and they're still doing it. And they're still Nazis and racist as they operate in Ukraine, where you have certain regime, which is actually Nazi and racist, just like them. And they're bragging how they got into Russia recently. Russia not being racist at all. The Russians, though, are beasts. And I'm saying picking a war with Russia is just a dumb idea altogether. But anyway, whatever. I know who's going to be left standing when the dust clears. And it's going to be Russia. That's for sure. But I don't think people understand the Russians, and the Russians will band together. They're trying to break up Russia into individual states. That's never going to happen. Russia is, anyway, they'll understand in time. I'm going to just let that play out. But that's suicide, Anyways, it's interesting because what I just said is what, again, was in Rebel Moon. And Rebel Moon is not necessarily isolated to the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Don't get me twisted. There are lots of conflicts all over the world. We talked about Sudan, Congo, where those conflicts are also happening and unfolding before our eyes, and they're atrocious. They're horrible to watch. But my point being that Rebel Moon typifies war and conflict very, very well, and some details that You can draw parallels from that very easily with the conflicts that are going on in real time. This is the difference between Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, I believe, and George Lucas's Star Wars, which, though it has multiple influences, the influences when it comes to wars, such as the World War II with the Nazis and also with the Viet Cong War, is the film actually came out after these wars so that George Lucas could assess, from beginning to end. The film Rebel Moon came out while these conflicts are happening. So you can literally in real time draw parallels. And this is why I think it's very hypocritical of people who are saying that they're siding with the oppressors in these conflicts in real time, because literally Rebel Moon is showing you who the oppressor is in these conflicts. Okay. And that's the thing that I don't quite understand, so it's an eye opener. And so the people cheering on, for example, Darian and Deborah Bloodaxe, you guys are cheering them on you don't even know why they're rebelling unless you've read the comic, The Bloodaxes, right? That Zack Snyder put out there, or the novelization of Rebel Moon. So it's like amazing that people support, for example, the resistance in Star Wars, or they support the resistance in these movies. But when it comes to real world resistance, whether it comes to Hamas, the Islamic Jihad, Fatah, right? PLO, all of a sudden you lost your support. No, they're terrorists. That makes no fucking sense, man. Excuse my F-bomb. Makes no fucking sense whatsoever. I can't agree with that kind of reasoning. Okay? This is exactly what's happening in this world. And you're believing the propaganda that the mother world or the imperium is giving you. You're not thinking for yourself. And yes, it comes at a price. You could be targeted. Your family could be targeted. I could be targeted. Okay? They could come after me. They could censor me. By the way, several times on X, okay, they have tried to shut my account down since this has happened. Lord Kojay has been targeted on YouTube. So this is nothing new, ladies and gentlemen. I've been through this with the Snyder Cut. And this is bigger stakes. It's much more dangerous. But this is the way. We have to fight back. Okay? And I gave y'all simple, systematic ways to fight back. Okay? You still have to stick with the BDS movement. Whether it's outlawed or not, you have to civilly disobey. Sometimes in life, you have to civilly disobey so that the spirit of the law would be upheld. Because they're making draconian laws now. And the laws are not for the purpose and service of the people anymore. They're for corporations. That's how this world is going. Our politicians are bought. Blatantly, this guy is going to say some really, really horrible things. Listen to this. He sends this information to his wife. So he's straight up doing a war crime. He's blowing up buildings. He's blowing up people. And he's telling his wife in real time, this is a soldier. He's telling his wife in real time, we are eliminating Amalek. Okay? So like I said, right? Like I said, anybody who is critical of Israel, all of a sudden everybody, so I'm a supporter of Hamas, apparently. I'm a terrorist. And anybody who supports the resistance or resisting this genocidal action by these judo Nazis, we're all of a sudden, we're the target. We're the ones who are the terrorists, not these guys who are terrorists. He's straight up blowing up buildings, telling his wife that we're getting rid of Amalek, which is illegal. Straight up illegal. He's breaking every single international law. Blatantly saying it. These people are blatantly in violation of international law. So, like I said before, they're now brazenly breaking the law. And not only are they brazenly breaking the law, but they believe because the AIPAC and other Israeli lobbyists are there, and because the current government, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, are allowing them and arming them to do so, they're blatantly breaking the law. And you guys want to elect Kamala Harris, that bitch, as president of the United States? Get the fuck out of here. You got a woman who's not even black. She's Indian. Okay? Secondly, she's singing whatever tune she can to get elected, just like Hillary Clinton. She is a witch. She is a wench. Okay? You want that bitch who is already in a power where she could stop this thing. She could get Biden to stop this thing tomorrow. And she's talking about we support Israel to the end. That's what she's saying. She's not critical of Israel at all. You want that bitch to be president of the United States? No, that's not going to happen. The person who needs to be president of the United States is Jill Stein and the Green Party. I'm not too sure what their status is with respect to Wisconsin, Delaware, and all those other states. I need to get the information out there if they are on the ballots in those states. But be that as it may, it's very important that you get somebody who actually represents the American people in some way, who's anti-war at least. Not only anti-war, but somebody who wants to build up America, who wants to provide housing for people, who wants to decentralize the federal government so that it doesn't have so much power to be bought out by special interests. I give the individual states more power. We need somebody who understands the balance between good law and specialized law in the individual states. We need someone who's willing to address the homelessness problem, the housing problem, the wage problem, but also to assist business in the United States of America, small, medium, and large, that has some kind of concrete plan that understands we cannot tax these big companies because they worked hard for what they got, if they get the tax breaks, but we should encourage them to give back to local communities, not to take, but to give as well, so that there will be greater distribution of money into the economy, and that money's coming into the economy from business and from taxation, because America's making half of its money from taxation. So what the fuck is the rest of the money? Why is the business community not giving back proportionally to America? They're not giving back the kind of amounts that America gets from taxpayers. Taxpayers pay the brunt of and drive the brunt of the economy, which is bullshit. If you say you're a capitalist country, then your business should be out profiting your citizens. Seeing that the business should be done abroad. It's not just America the business should be done in, but you're supposed to be doing business abroad. You're supposed to be doing business and collecting U.S. revenue into the country. So how the fuck is that not happening? That's what you have to ask yourself. So that's what the federal government should be looking at in a general sweeping law, and then the individual states will do whatever, their amendments to the laws and adding to the laws so they need. So for example, if you're in the state of, say, Detroit, right? Detroit should have incentives to want the best and most talented people in car manufacturing, for example, and GM and stuff, to come into their company. And GM should be exporting cars all over the world, not just Fords, but every single product, Chevys, all of that stuff. And I see some Chevys down here in Trinidad, but it's not a lot. Okay? They should be like China. They should be exporting shit and making money. That's what Chinese is doing well, because they export a lot of products. They produce a lot of products. Germany was that, but I don't know what happened to Germany. Germany was known for its standards. Germany is known as a production company. That's what the production nation. I don't know what happened to Germany. And the Germans are really good at what they do, but they're so fucking racist. Some of them are just terrible. They're atrocious people. Germany's right now one of the major leaders trying to take down Russia right now. NATO's really aggressively trying to take down Russia, which is never going to happen. Never. All right, Senate House said, so let me get this straight. Someone wants to work with Henry Cavill saying let me get it straight. Someone else wants to work with Henry Cavill saying he's a great guy, but Twitter told me nobody liked him. They said he was a hard guy to work with. Well, RebelMoon star Sophia Botella reveals which Justice League character she wants in a sequel. First, I'll let you guys hear her say it, and then.
For a while, he's a really nice person, and he's great. So, yeah, Henry.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Please step up to the next person. But let's get to fan. On that note, on to Lisa. Let's get to fan questions. Hello, my love. Please come straight up to the mic and say your name and question.
Hello, my name is Dan.
Hi, Dan.
I have a question. So, aside from Ray Porter and Ray Fisher, since they were already on RebelMoon, if you had a chance to work with any of Zack Snyder's Justice League actors for a RebelMoon sequel, who would it be?
Any actor?
Yeah, any of the actors that has not already been used.
That hasn't been used yet
Right,
in RebelMoon. That hasn't been used in RebelMoon yet.
Exactly, yes.
Maybe Henry? Because I worked with him, Henry Cavill, because I worked with him on Argyle, and we had no scenes together. And I've seen him around for a while. He's a really nice person, and he's great. So, yeah, Henry.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Right, so she said she would like to work with Henry Cavill. And Henry Cavill is a hell of an actor. People say he's bland for Superman, whatever. Some other people say he was stoic, whatever. But Henry's a hell of an actor, and I'd love to see him working in a sequel for RebelMoon, one of the sequels. So that would be dope. But again, the bots and the trolls and the simps and the people working for Warner Brothers spread this lie that Henry's hard to work with, and they put it in the trades, and nobody wants to work with Henry and stuff like that because of what happened with the Witcher and what Warner Brothers did to him. But the truth be told, Henry Cavill just showed up, as y'all know, in X-Men and the Wolverine. And he was a Wolverine, and he looked a damn good Wolverine at that. And, I love what Ryan Reynolds said, where he put in, we'll treat you well, not like those shitheads down the street, because they tried to libel you. They libeled Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, they libeled Ray Fisher, they libeled, these people are so caustic and so stupid. They libeled Ezra Miller. They libeled Zack Snyder. They just keep on trying to dirty people. And it's like a fucking dirty company, man. The only person they're not libeling right now are the people who are not performing for them. James Gunn, who should have been fired the day he was hired. This is the guy that fired Henry Cavill, by the way. And James Gunn's not going to produce anything for Warner Brothers, and they know it because their stock is in the toilet because of that, because of James Gunn. If that movie is going to make money, it definitely, the stock should have risen already. The stock should be doing well. There's zero buzz for DC right now, thanks to Warner Brothers going the direction of more Marvel. Meanwhile, Marvel is actually going the way of what Zack Snyder used to do with DC. And Ryan Reynolds is a big fan of Zack Snyder. We heard him talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League, and he clowned it and everything. Ryan Reynolds is a huge fan of Zack Snyder. There are a lot of people who are huge fans of Zack Snyder, and everybody wants to say, "Oh, the Snyder cult." Well, I guess what? Ryan Reynolds is part of the Snyder cult, and you just have to pay attention, and you'll see Ryan Reynolds loves Zack Snyder's films. He watches them. Okay, lots of people love Zack Snyder stuff. So don't believe in the narratives. And that's why I'm standing strong on RebelMoon. And I stand in solidarity with the people who support Free Palestine, but I think a lot of people are disillusioned and they're delusional. Like, Cora said, you saw what these people did to you. You saw Atticus Noble bash the head of Sindri to goddamn shreds. You saw the Canisian, is it Canisian? Hold on, let me see. I think it's Canisian or Cryptesian. You saw that Cryptesian soldier chop up Sindri's wife into pieces. Okay? So why do you think that you're going to get something else? You think that somehow you putting pressure on Kamala Harris is going to make her want a ceasefire, is going to make her want to end the occupation? That shit is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Okay? What you see is what you get. You're not going to get it from the DNC. You're not going to get it from the RNC. You could forget that. Fuck that. You have to try somebody else. You have to try something else. And the somebody else and the something else is Jill Stein and the Green Party. She's in position. I don't know if she has all the states underneath her. And even if she doesn't, she still could become president. So you guys need to just get in a position and vote. If you have her on your ballot, you don't vote for nobody else but Jill Stein. You vote. If you want to mess up this system, if you want to destroy this system, you have to make her a presence. And the DNC is trying their hardest right now to censor her and to stop her from being an option out there, because they know she is the biggest threat out there. And there's a circulating this rumor that, she's in Putin's back pocket by the DNC and by so-called Democrat simps. I'm going to tell you right now, she's not. Okay? She even came out 9 years ago and talked about the conference that she was attending, which was an RT conference. And she never got to speak to Putin because Putin came in late. 1, 2, they speak Russian. She doesn't speak Russian. And 3, even though she was at the same table, there was nobody to translate. She spoke to Chinese and she spoke to German diplomats that were there. But she didn't have an opportunity to speak to Vladimir Putin. And that's just the truth. So when people come with that bullshit, how? Her policies are different to Putin's policies, okay? Her policies are what the Democrats actually steal and they write on, but they don't know how to execute, okay? The Green New Deal, the whole point why it's called the Green New Deal is because it was funded by the Green Party, even though it is also green. And it's not funded by the Green Party, but the Green Party brought it back to life. It's something way, way, way back in the day, okay? Ralph Nader, everybody knows Ralph Nader. He was part of the Green Party. Bernie Sanders was once a part of the Green Party. Cornel West came through and he was chilling out with the Green Party for a little bit and he left, okay? The Green Party, why would Cornel West deal with supposedly a simple Putin? Why would Ralph Nader? Why would Bernie Sanders? So this bullshit. Don't buy into the bullshit. They're more left-leaning. Sure. Yes, they have some socialist ideas, but that does not mean that they're anything like Vladimir Putin. He's a totally different guy. He's a dictator. Okay? Hamas Abdul Alima recreates the scenes of his viral image confronting the Israeli officer, explaining what he said, what happened. All right, so he was stripped down naked and he spoke to the person, and this is what he said.
قلت له يا حضرة الضابط إذا أنت بمساعدك وشباكك والتكنولوجيا والعالم كلية العالم المتطور والتكنولوجيا معك ألمانيا وبريطانيا وفرنسا وعلى رأسهم أمريكا، إذا أنتوا سقطتوا قدام حماس في 7 أكتوبر أنا إيش ذنبي؟ ما كناش خايفين منهم والحمد لله رب العالمين. أنا رافع راسي الجيت وبعدين ولاخر نقطه دم في دمي وفي اولادي وفي كل دم فلسطيني. في ناس كتير زينا وفي ناس كتير احسن مني، والحمد لله رب العالمين احنا شعب صامت. مسكت اللي هو بشكير ابيض وصرت اعمل في البشكير الابيض هيك من الباب واقول انا مدني هون، انا مدني، معي اطفالي ومرتي، وصرت اقول انا مدني هون، ولا فيهم مدني ولا فيهم حاجه. صار يطخ علي وصار يقول لي بالعربي كلام مكسر، سلاح سلاح. قلت له انا سلاح ماليش علاقه، مالي دعوه، انا مع اطفالي، انا جاي اعيش. وبقول لي انت الظاهر واحد ملاعب، واحد بتفهم تتكلم، واحد صار يهدد فيا بالكلام هذا، وبلش يخبط فيا بوكسات وحاجه زي هيك، وصار يقول لي بدك تحكي لي وين حماس وين انفاق حماس. حسيتهم بتوتوا بدهم يعدموني، فانا بدي اطلب منك اذا انت بتحكي عربي، اذا انتم ناويين تعدموني بس انه تهمتي كشاب فلسطيني يتم اعدامي، اعدموني، بس انا طلبي ما تعدمونيش قدام اطفالي. كنت اشعر بالفخر والشموخ والاعتزاز، واني بعابر وانا قاعد مقيد، اني انا خلص وصلنا لمرحله اني انا بعبر عن كل شخص فلسطيني، رافع راسي وشامخ، حتى ولو بدي اموت رافع راسي وشامخ. انت عدونا لانك انت على ارضنا، اطلع برا ارضنا، انت مش عدونا، انت مش عدونا، لا انت ولا الحرشه تبعتك الزبره يا قتله الاطفال. فهمت كيف؟ هيك كان بدك توجه له الرساله، وبدك العالم كله يفهم الكلام هذا. احنا اليهود اللي في اسبانيا مش عداينا كفلسطينيه، هذا انا بسطش برا، هذا صديقي اللي انا بطش بتفرج على المباريات وبطش معاه. اما كانت محتل ارضي وبتقتل اطفالي وبتهد البيوت فوق روسنا، انت هيك عدو و60 عدوي. ولكن اليوم احنا ضعفاء، لكن احنا بنقوى بالله، وبنقوى ان شاء الله النصر قريب، وربنا وعدنا بالنصر. انا اكتفيت بالكلام اللي بدي اقوله، وعندنا كثير شغلات نقولها، ولكن ان شاء الله نتمنى من الله ربنا حيرد عنا ويشفي قلوب كل في فلسطين وكل المسلمين. انت عدو.
So Hamas Halima, he stood up to the Israelis and he was saying, "You got this powerful technology. You're all over the world. You have the empire behind you: Germany, France, UK, United States, and you still couldn't stop Hamas on October 7th. How's that? You know what I'm saying?" And then he stood up to them and he's saying, while they stripped him naked and stuff and beat him up, he was very fierce in his resistance. He's not a fighter, but his heart is strong. And even if they destroy him tomorrow, this video is going to go all over the world anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You know, these people are not afraid anymore of death. It's like the Houthis. The Houthis are relentless. You can't stop them from bombing trains. You can't stop them from bombing the boats that are there, you know, because you made them. You made them fearless. You made them stop fearing death. You made them stop fearing mutilation. Because of the atrocities you've done, they are born and forged under that. They're not afraid of you anymore. And people are not afraid of you Gestapo people targeting singular people. It's only going to make it more intense. It only gives people a reason to, you see, when you try, this is human nature. When you tell a human being they can't do this, you can break them sometimes, but collectively as a group, it's hard to break a collective group of people once they're formed. This is why Restore the Snyderverse is going to happen. This is why Israel as a country is going to be, shall I say, it's going to be deconstructed. It's going to be, you know, the United Nations is trying to pussyfoot around this, but just like how Germany was reconstructed, just so Israel's going to be reconstructed. But we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move along. But Hamas Abu Halima, remember this guy. He's a cool dude. They may kill him. They may kill him, but he's not afraid. He's going to stand up to the end. He's going to stand up to the end, and he's not going to use violence. As you can see, he's not using violence. He's talking about people having forgiveness in their heart for other people and stuff like that. He's not going to use violence, but of course, haters, they're going to try and stomp him out because he represents something. But if they stomp him out, he's going to be a martyr, and it's just going to make him even stronger. So it doesn't matter what they do. They're going to lose. Israel's in a losing situation. The empire's in a losing situation, with Brexit and all those things. Shout out to Alita, by the way. We still want to see the sequel of Alita Battle Angel. Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing Alita Battle Angel, a sequel to that. I want to see it. Now, this is very important. Jews say stop massacring Gaza. Inspiring forces from an anti-genocide march in solidarity with Palestine, condemning the Israeli occupation in Washington, D.C. And here we have the Jews. These are Jews, ladies and gentlemen. They are Jews. Okay? And they got the Palestinian flag. And you know why this is happening? I'm going to tell y'all why this is happening. You see, they're pouring blood on the road and stuff. And they're even wearing the Kofefe. Okay? They're actually wearing it. And they have Netanyahu as a war criminal. And let me tell y'all something. I'm going to be real with y'all. They right. Okay? And the whole world can see. Okay? And you're not going to shut us up. And I'm always going to do videos on this until Palestine is free. Here's a Palestinian man. I'm just gonna read it out. The female soldier grabbed me by the balls and penis. She wounded me with her nails, driving them into my penis. The bator, when it was extended and exerted inside of you, sodomy. It feels like your brain will explode. He's talking about being sodomized by a woman. And yes, we have rapists, both men and women, in the Israeli army that have been doing these cruel acts. The things where they talked about babies' heads decapitating, raping of women, and they talk about burning people alive. That's them. And actually, there's somebody who actually spoke on this, so we'll get to that as well. They're really projecting, that's all. Here, a Israeli drone or copter is shooting at Palestinians as they flee. I'm just going to let y'all hear it. I'm going to be real with y'all. Them Palestinians, man, we talk about black people running. I bet you if Palestinians were allowed to run the 100-meter in the Olympics, I think they'd win right now. They like to talk about black people running because black people get out of it too, because Popo be going at them, so they be running away from. But I mean, god damn, man, the Palestinians, you gotta get out of there. You really gotta skippy dippy dippy do. And still the majority of them still get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Dude even pushes dude out running the donkey and shit. I'm just saying, y'all, it's funny. I just think it's funny. I know it's not funny, but I'm just saying. They gotta know how to get out of there, bro. Look at this ninja. Ninja's crawling out of there. An old mask. All right, enough of that. I'm just saying. All right, we got Donald Trump at the wall of Israel. We got, who's that? Putin. A whole bunch of people had to go and kiss this damn wall. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, the head of the Argentinian bullshit people. Elon Musk was there with his son. Yeah, I always said the clowns that was there. Biden hugging Bush. All right, now, it is a place where it's a ceremony where you have to go there. It doesn't mean that all these people side with that now, but I'm just saying, it's crazy. Kind of like you have to go to the Vatican. Everybody got to go to the Vatican, you know what I'm saying? All right, so RebelMoon. There's a couple of things I want to talk about with RebelMoon. And this is a quotation here. There is no honor in this. This could be any of you lying here in the gutters of some forgotten world in the name of revenge. You would do well to remember that. Nemesis, after she killed her mother, who sought revenge for being poisoned by pollution in the mines of Daggers. Mind you, she couldn't bear her children. Nobody cared about that. Of course, Nemesis was able to cut open her belly in the fight, and so her kids came out. But their mother was killed, which is very sad. Because the pollutants was killing her in the mines of Daggers. Nobody cared about her. And again, this is the oppressed situation. Nobody cares about the oppressed. Nobody cares about homeless people. They're almost nobodies in society. And I always looked at that and I said, good God, once you are seen as less than by the general public, they don't care what happens to you. And this is what's happening with the Palestinians. This is what's happened to Hamada in the mines of Daggers. This is what happened, and you're just left to rot and be forgotten. This is what happens in the Congo War, the Sudanese War, the war that happened with Eritrea and Ethiopia. People pretend to care, but you disappear under the radar once, you're not seen as like everybody else. The extreme version of this is racism, where you're actively trying to get people destroyed and erased. But I'm just saying that, it's very sad. Okay. This is a whole different meaning here. He's not heavy. He's my brother. This man is carrying the remains of his burnt out body of his brother to bury. This is so tragic. This is the craziness happening in Palestine. This is craziness happening in Gaza as we speak. This is in real fucking time, ladies and gentlemen. This is happening in the Congo as we speak. This is happening in Sudan as we speak in real time, ladies and gentlemen. How can we love war? The majority of people in the world don't like war. This is happening in the Ukraine. This is happening in Russia. Well, not so much Russia. Russia's advanced into Ukraine, so it's mostly happening in Ukraine. And when I say in Ukraine, it doesn't mean that Russians in Ukraine who are, citizens of Ukraine are not suffering the same thing, the same fate. Bad Fleck movie saying Zack Snyder would break the internet again. Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. Yeah. All right. I want you to hear this because this is so awesome that people are actually speaking out and telling the truth, which mainstream media is not allowing. And it's such bullshit. So here we go. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen.
Not true. It's. Do you care about the babies that were beheaded?
No,
the babies
they were never beheaded. That was a made-up story.
How do you
Not
know?
true. It's. Show me the pictures now.
So what about
Show me the picture. You're a lying full of. You're full of.
Do you care about the babies that were?
They were
So
never beheaded.
she's talking about the beheaded babies and bullshit like that were butchered, which is a lie. It's such bullshit. Clark Joe. Okay. So I'm using this in tandem because, like I said before, this is real time. There's real things are happening in the world. For those of you who don't know what's happening in India as well, there's a big unrest in India right now, and with the new government that's come into play, and there's a lot of corruption going on there as well. But it is what it is in some respects, but nonetheless, we should care. If you guys really, how can you call, the precepts, God, it's so hard for me to even talk about the hypocrisy here, but the things that bother me are this. I'd see people singing in churches or praising God and talking about God and God and God and God. Meanwhile, next door, your neighbor's being raped. And the neighbor's screaming for help as they're being raped. And all your fucking ass could think about is singing praises while a motherfucker next door is being torn up. This is the thing that's why I'm cursing, to be honest with you, because it's so fucking hypocritical. There's a saying, you're so heavenly minded, you're no fucking earthly good. I should care about my brother. I should care about my sister. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. I should care. So if in my country, I see people who have need and I can help, I should help them. Now, the reason I care about the homeless is because I was homeless once. I know what it feels like. I know what it is to not have a place to legitimately stay. And right now, so many Palestinians are homeless, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you don't give a fuck about homeless people, how the fuck are you going to care about Palestinians? How the fuck are you going to care about family members who are homeless right now? You're not going to care. Homelessness in the United States of America right now is at an all-time high. The economy is going downhill right now because of all the wars that America is involved in. The only thing that's sucking up all the money is Wall Street and the military complex. They're the only beneficiaries of this whole fucked up situation. The amount of damage and destruction that's being caused in the name of so-called getting more land, to get land grabs. Right now, northern Gaza is occupied by Israeli forces, and it doesn't look like they want to give it up anytime soon. So not only do the people of Gaza have less land space to stay in, which could cause more disease, and now Israel's trying to occupy Gaza. American taxpayers funded a lot of death you see here right now. This is real. This is some fucked up situations. Okay? American taxpayers funded this. Kamala Harris is saying, I am speaking. That bitch. She's a disgusting bitch. The thing about it is that's so very disgusting and very distressing is this bitch is in power right now. This bitch could do something about that situation right now. Why the fuck would I elect this bitch when she's not doing anything to help the situation? She's talking. She's part of a failed government. Jill Stein for president, 2024. So there was a tremendous protest outside of the DNC in Chicago. Okay, free Palestine. Okay. Here are some more Jewish people. Not to say that it makes a difference, but here are some more Jewish people. Here we go.
And I saw, like, you looked out election. So this was 18 years ago. It was before the election of Hamas. Mm-hmm. They pulled out, and then they took us to the West Bank. Like, the last month I was there, and I realized that I was like, oh, this is the wrong side of history. Mm-hmm. And I saw, like, you looked down at the Arab village that was underneath where this fucking settlement was, and you see how these people are living under constant surveillance, and they're being fucking demeaned and dehumanized. And then you see these fucking guys, like, building these tract houses like they live in fucking Orange County. Mm-hmm. You know, in the middle of like this political reality, which is brutal and fucking, like, inhumane. And I lost it. I lost it then. And I went back and I told my parents, and we got in big arguments. I was like, you know, this is what we were told was important, was to support fucking Israel so the Holocaust doesn't happen again. That's what we were told. Mm-hmm. And that's what my parents were told when they were growing up. And they knew survivors, you know, mm-hmm. and it freaked them out. And I understand why there's, like, this, like, narrative in the Jewish community, but, like, that doesn't make Jews more safe. You know, it's a failure of a project. And then now we're seeing, like, this fucking bloody reality. And
yeah, but the response is crazy because
the response is insane.
It's like the idea. Like
seeing Joe Biden saying he doesn't believe the death tolls, that really broke me.
Well, they're panicking now.
Elections.
Como me vean, no van a parar. De puta. We're seeing the militarization of the police. Their training comes from Israel, so their training is very draconian. It's just bullshit all the way around. We're seeing a police state. We're seeing these elites trying to clamp down on people of the world. They say there's too many of us, and there's like this hate towards us. And I see this shit, and I know what it is, and I know it's not just Israel. I know that's a sentiment among the elites, and we're seeing it. They're coming out the woodworks. Chris Hemsworth, not Chris Hemsworth. I keep on calling the wrong guy. Chris Evans went to Israel. Chris Evans, man, a guy who I always thought was a good guy. He's back in that shit, and I'm like, fuck, we are fucked, you know. APAC Tracker says the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic serves in the IDF. So Adam Kirsch, who's the editor-in-chief here, the false narrative of settler colonialism. It is settler colonialism. So he's trying something here. Fuck him. Joe Biden wanted to say how, you know, there's a lot of innocent people dying on both sides. Joe Biden, shut the fuck up, bro. Just shut the fuck up. Because right now, Palestinians are dying. It's not Israelis are dying. Maybe Israeli soldiers are dying, but Palestinian citizens are dying, civilians. So shut the fuck up. Okay? And they talk about, you know, Donald Trump is this bad. Donald Trump's not as bad as these motherfuckers. Okay? Don't get me wrong. He wants to be a dictator. He wants to run things. Okay. But we can do civil disobedience and get him kicked out of there. But nonetheless, whatever. Okay? The point is, at the end of the day, they're both bad. Vote Jill Stein. Fuck these people. I know I don't have to be American to see this. I'm not American. I'm Trinidadian. But fuck them. Vote Jill Stein. Vote Jill Stein. I hope she wins the elections. I really do. Now, even if she wins, she's got to be protected. So y'all make sure she's protected. Okay? Because these people, all these intelligence agencies and stuff, they're going to gun after her. Right now, she's under the radar because nobody expects her to win. Nobody. But they didn't expect Donald Trump to win either. Okay? So anyway, we'll see what happens. But guys, if you're smart and in your right mind, vote Jill Stein. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm dead serious about that. All right. A little girl, she pays tribute to Robert Martin, and she does a portrait of him. This is a little girl about 10 years old and from Palestine, and it's beautiful what she did. She's a great artist. You can see that. She's got so much skill and talent. And I love the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people are such nice, welcoming, warm people. It's really amazing how when you suffered so much oppression, whether it's through Hamas or whoever, and then you got the IDF and you got Israel, you're always living under oppression. You find that little light at the end of the tunnel. And this little girl is just so wonderful. But you know, she comes up, she shows a little light, and immediately these fuckers are going to gun for her and try and kill her and her family. But I don't give a fuck. You know why? It's worth it. If you're just living life and you're not shedding light and you're not sharing beauty, what's the use of your fucking life? So I share light and they blow me up, fine. At least my living was for a reason, for the greater good. Standing Taper says, the degree of evil you must be to be a millionaire ethno-nationalist has been going after a 24-year-old woman who barely surviving one of the worst things a person could ever experience. Hell is not hot enough. So these assholes here, Deborah Missing, Selma Blair, Sherry Lansing, Rick Rosen, Habib Saban, and Michael Rottenberg have signed a letter authorized by the pro-Israel nonprofit creative community for Peace, urging the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences to rescind the nomination of Bassem Atef Auda, who was recognized in the news and documentary category for its Bison from Gaza and I'm Still Alive. So she did a documentary on that, and they're trying to get it rescinded. And they can go fuck themselves to hell, as far as I'm concerned. Wicked people. All right.
And protest in Israel. He's also facing a criminal trial. His coalition.
We know this already, but I'm still going to do
Netanyahu is going to face not just
He's Miliowski, by the way,
and
not
protest in
Netanyahu.
Israel. He's also facing a criminal trial. His coalition is fragile. He is seen as responsible and the main culprit for the debacle of October 7th. In consistent polls, 70% want him to resign. Over 70% see him directly responsible. Therefore, he needs to be held accountable. The extension of the war enables him to distance himself from October 7th. And so for him, he needs the war to go on.
Again, police violently attacking people. This is a Gaza supporter, and they violently attack them again. This is a European police. They're physically bullying a citizen who has never attacked them or anything. And this is why we need protective presence. And I'm going to explain to you guys how we get protective presence. See, these people have been arrested, and they're bullying people. They're pushing them and stuff like that. So let me explain what needs to happen. You need to have people who have been veterans, battle-ready people who have been and seen war. We need to have those people protect the civilians. It's called civilian right. How's it called? It's called. It's called. There should be citizens on board to do a citizen's arrest of police if they're violating the laws that govern them handling citizens, because police were there to protect and serve. They're not there to violently. The stuff that we saw in Beijing, China, we're seeing now here, where people protest and police are violently clamping down on them. And the only way you can fight back with that is to actually have armed, protective people. You know, people talk negatively about the Black Panthers, but the Black Panthers stopped police brutality from happening. Civilians need to bear arms to protect other civilians, and if necessary, have a citizen's arrest of any citizen who is in violation of the laws of how to arrest people. So, for example, when the police violently pushed that lady there, if there was an armed person there to protect that rally, to make sure things were in order, and also to look for instigators, anybody who's out of line, they check those people. That's how you do it. It's like any function you have. You should have security, right? These people would be considered like security. There's like the security, hired to protect the protesters. Private security. That's what they need. So if you're going to go out and protest these days, to make sure that the protest runs and moves smoothly and peacefully, one, you need to have security there on board. You hire, say, for example, Army vets who have seen war and are combat ready, know how to fight. And you have them protect your protests so that any event, anything in the protest or around the protest, they can immediately address that and deal with it so that it doesn't get out of hand. That's what I would suggest for people who are protesting, that they get, if they can get volunteers. You have a lot of veterans all over this country in VAs all over the country whose services can be volunteered or even paid some sort of fee so that they can protect your protest, because it's in place in the United States of America, particularly. And I'm pretty sure most veterans are not appreciative of what's happening with the rights of citizens, because they fight in other countries to protect the rights, for America's interest, and they're disillusioned about that to start with. But they're also, thought they were protecting the rights and freedoms of American citizens. So a lot of them are going to be idealists, which means you can get those veterans to protect the citizens. And because they have combat training, they'll be able to nullify and handle any situation the police may have, even large amounts of police. And again, the way how they may approach it is not necessarily the most orthodox way, so that they can control the crowds and make sure that, instigators within the crowds and so on, they can have surveillance on it. They can really do a great job because they're veterans. So, that can ensure a much more secure environment. So I would advocate, again, everything has to do with states. If you're whatever state you're in, if there's going to be a protest in that state, I would suggest very strongly that before even when you're organizing your protest or whatever you're going to do, that you get proper security to protect you when you're doing your protest, so that your protest can run smoothly. There's no incidents happening, and you have the protection. It's supposed to be the police that's doing that, but you can hire these veterans as private security to protect you from if the police turn out to be violent or something. They can sort of nullify that situation, neutralize the situation quite quickly. So it's very important that you have that protection, because it's very unlikely that police will just run ad hoc crazy and just be pushing people around like what we just saw, or beat them up like how we just see. If there's protection there, there's armed protection there, they're not going to just do that, because they know that you'll have to deal with the armed protection, So, and the armed protection can arrest them. There's something called a citizen's arrest, so they can be arrested for something like that. Regardless, armor gear, it doesn't matter that they have riot gear or what. It doesn't matter. These guys know how to handle every single situation. So that would be an interesting thing. So let me explain why I say that trying to go up against Russia is a suicidal, dumb thing. Okay. The last cavalry charge, Russians' victory at Yaroslavitsky. On August 21st, 1914, the last head-on cavalry battle in history occurred in Yaroslavitsky in western Ukraine. The Russians' 10th Cavalry Division, led by General Fyodor Arturovich Keller, faced the numerically superior Austrian 4th Division. The Austrians held a higher, more advantageous position, but Keller's decisive leadership turned the tide. At a critical moment, Keller personally led his staff into battle, rallying his troops with the command, "Hit them in the face and neck." The phrase became legendary among Russian cavalrymen during World War I. I'm just going to say this again. When Ukraine was having some success against Russia early on in this battle, a lot of people felt that, Ukraine would be able to hold their own and beat back Russia and it would be all over. And it didn't happen that way. Every advancement that NATO or the Ukraine have against Russia, you got to understand there's a couple things you must understand. Russia has the numbers. 1, the Russians fight to the death. 2, 3, they have a history of war and winning war. And 4, most importantly, Russia is, bar none, the most powerful military nation in the world. They've been that way. Okay? And the reason they are is because 1, they have unlimited land space. 2, they have the biggest nuclear war pile of all the countries in the world. And 3, most importantly, Russia finances their own selves. So you can't, they make their own weapons, they finance their own selves, they have their own oil. So they're good. Okay? They could trade among themselves and exist forever and it would be fine. The economy is that robust. So war is not going to affect their economy. Nothing's going to affect their economy. So as a result of that, Russia is, you got to understand, if Russia wanted to conquer the world tomorrow, they could do that. Okay? Because if it was a bloody world war, but mind you, Russians don't mind dying for their cause. Okay? They don't mind. They got the numbers. if there was a bloody war, you know who would be left standing at the end of the war? Russia. You know, they've proven it time and time again. Okay, so it's just stupid. I mean, completely stupid to be poking the bear like that and to be agitating Russia. Of all places, you think of the Russian mafia; they're the worst mafia. You think of the Russian, fighters. They're usually the baddest fighters out there. Okay, Russia's just not. You don't want to be messing with Russia. You want to be Russia's friend. Okay, America's been trying to agitate Russia for since the 1970s, I believe it was. Okay, Russia was our ally. Yes, Stalin was a dictator. Yes, he killed a lot of his people, but he was an ally. Okay, that's why World War II went the way it went. It's because Russia single-handedly beat down Germany, single-handedly beat down Hitler's advancement. Even if there wasn't a D-Day, even if the Allies didn't overturn the Nazis, Russia would have gotten them. And when Russia overruns you, nobody survives. You really want to pick a war with Russia? Because Russia will finish you. As they finished Germany, Hitler decided to commit suicide, then face the Russians, because they will torture you and they will rape you and they will destroy you and they will burn you to the dust. The Red Army was nothing to fuck with. Okay? They were vicious. Vicious. Now you're telling me, and these people have millennia history of destroying everyone when they fight. When Russians fight a war, they leave no survivors. Okay? No one survives the war. Okay? So I don't know why you want to pick a fight with Russia. These are not people to fuck with. Okay? They're not warmongers. Russians are not warmongers. But if they have to fight a war, they are fighting that war to the death. Do you understand that? Do you understand Russians are not people to fuck with? Okay? They have a big spread. It's like almost a continent. They stretch across all the way from Western Europe, from Europe, all the way to fucking Alaska, motherfuckers. Russia's not, don't fuck with Russia, man. You don't fuck with Russia. You just don't do that. You just don't fuck with Russia. My God. How many people need to learn this lesson? And they know their history. That's why they stick together. So I don't understand what NATO is trying to do. I don't. Your Security Council doesn't work, but NATO is attacking Russia. Why don't you attack Israel? That's what you're supposed to be attacking. You're supposed to be attacking Israel. Oh no, that's because that's not in America's interest. Well, fuck you then. Because one of two things is going to happen. Actually, maybe both. NATO may be disbanded. I'm telling you, this is the end of the Western Empire. Because going up against Russia is just the foolishest thing I've ever heard. It's just as stupid as Israel thinking they can wipe Palestinians off the planet. That's not happening. Either of those things are not happening. They're not possibilities. It's fool's gold. And it's sad because BRICS is coming up. And the American dollar is not going to be the standard of trade very soon. And there's not one thing the Western Empire can do about it. They're trying to threaten China. They got Russians. They got subs with nukes all around China. That's another country you're fucking with. You're fucking with the wrong people. They play chess. They don't play fucking checkers. The Russians play chess. They don't fucking play checkers. There's a reason Russia used to dominate the fucking Olympics. Dominate it. There's a reason that happened. So, and you know, why pick Russia? I mean, Iran would have been an easier target. You know what I'm saying? Iran's an easier target, but it can't because Russia backs Iran. You see what I'm saying? You're going after Russia, man. Y'all motherfuckers are crazy. Y'all really want to die. Y'all really want the Western Empire to go down because it's going to go down. There's no way you're beating Russia. There's no way. That's like Israel picking a fight with Iran and just getting obliterated. All right? They're going to get obliterated. Again, Iran does not want a war with anyone. Iran is trying to build economic ties and get bigger. And again, nobody's saying that Iran's regime is the best regime on earth. Nobody's saying that the Russian regime is the best regime on earth. Nobody's saying that. We're not making that claim. We're just talking reality here. Israel versus Iran will end horribly bad for Israel. Horribly bad. Okay? They were able to disrupt Syria. They were able to get Egypt at its lowest. And they got a kind of government that's bending to the will of the Western powers. Okay? They're able to destabilize and knock down Iraq. But now everybody's wised up to the fact of what they're doing. Everything's exposed now. Gun for Iran, and you will be nuked into oblivion. And Russia, as you can see, they long time ago they could have nuked Ukraine. They could have nuked, but they're not. They're principled people. They're doing things based on, they only invaded Ukraine because people who are Russians who live in Ukraine, who are Ukrainians, but they're Russian and speak Russian, were being attacked. If it wasn't for that, they wouldn't have gotten involved. And yes, they're wrong for violating Ukraine's sovereignty. We 100% agree on that. So, but that's not, but what's happening in Ukraine, the only reason Russia got involved was because of Russians who are Ukrainians, really, but they have Russian, they speak Russian and all that. They were being victimized. That's the only reason why Russia's involved right now in Ukraine. And this could have been resolved, and we could have had peace, and the Ukrainians could have had their country. And again, I'm not really interested in how Ukraine carries on their affairs as a nation. They're a sovereign state. They can do whatever they want. Okay? Right? They had a coup, whatever. The U.S. was backing that. And a few in Ukraine, so Ukraine joined NATO to get the next Russia. Got it. We know what the United States has been trying to do. What I can't understand is the United States always dealing with very, very foul actors, which it feels it can manipulate. Why is it you talk about democracy, you talk about freedom, but then when we look, you're always dealing with the foulest people on the planet? I just don't get that. Doing all kinds of tremendous atrocities. I don't get that. This is from Iron Source Telegram page, where Israeli soldiers happily post their war crimes with impunity. They strip Palestinians naked, mark them with numbers, and torture them. Who else is used to mark humans with numbers? Yeah. And you do remember the mother world, the Imperium, branding the priestess of Toa, marking them. Okay? Strip them naked and then mark them. And you can see these people are branded 23, 22, etc., etc., etc. Definitely the concentration camps they go to. As V Palestine says, Palestinians will be the death of the empire, spotted in Friedrichshain, Berlin. This is Berlin, Germany. because East Berlin is more or from a communist background. Palestinian supporters in Sweden organized a bike rally to show solidarity with Gaza and call for an end to the Israeli genocide against Palestinians. Awesome stuff again. Worldwide, ladies and gentlemen. Israeli soldiers take joy in the destruction of Gaza. They openly celebrate their genocide. The Hague now. And this guy did it again. In Rebel Moon, Director's Cut, we meet Aris, Prince of Toa, a private in the Imperium Army, and Jimmy, former protector of the slain Mother World King. Both defected to the rebellion on Velt, as some former IDF soldiers are breaking the silence. Some IDF soldiers turned against superiors, killing them as well very recently. So I'll just show you the different articles here. So this here is Aris, and this right here is the Imperium's signature of the Mother World. Changed from what it was. It was a lion. And you see Ares, he's here. He's in his homeworld of Toa. He's going to kill his dad because Atticus Noah wants to make him do that to save his family, supposedly, which he lies about. You know, there's a lot of lying by the Imperium. There's a lot of deception. And that's the same thing with Israel. The same thing with Somalia. That's the same thing with the Congo. There's a lot of lies going on. False premises for motivation for things to happen. We saw it also with the American Empire, where when 9/11 happened, it was a false equivalency that, you know, it was somehow connected to Saddam Hussein in Iraq. Lies. So this is a sort of a systematic play that is always done. So here he is part of the Imperium here. He's a private, the Imperium Army. He defects when Sam is going to be raped by the soldiers there. Again, rape is a part of war. You see this in almost every single war. And as he fights back along with Cora, he's fighting back with Cora here. He's defecting, and then the Jimmy comes in, and the Jimmy shoots the commander of the unit in the head. Okay? So the Jimmy actually picks a side, as does Ares. They both defect. They're both from the Mother World. They're both soldiers. And they defect to the resistance, very much like, as I said before, the ex-IDF soldiers of 2000, etc., who defected, and they're breaking the silence right now, letting out the whole world know about that. And of course, just so those of you don't know, here it is. Israeli soldiers break their silence on the Gaza conflict. This is back in 2015. And you can check that out on YouTube, as well as in Nandira Ali says, an example of a good person. Instead of engaging further suicide, he offed his superiors and then took his own life to regain some honor. An IDF soldier opened fire on his superiors, killing 3, and then he shot himself at a military base in southern Israel. Okay. He didn't like it. There was also a lot of Israeli soldiers who, when they returned to Israel after the long thing, committed suicide themselves. They couldn't live with themselves, the atrocities that they saw and what they did or were forced to do. And it reminds me of, again, Ares. You know, Ares seeing Atticus Noble bash the brain in of Sindri, and then Sindri, and he also defected. I also want to let you guys know also that there's a number of other things. A lot of people are not talking about this, but post-traumatic stress disorder from, the soldiers who were in Iraq, the soldiers that were in Afghanistan. There's a lot of that. That's why I said the veterans, it's up to you guys, man. Whether you're a veteran in Israel or whether you're a veteran in the United States of America, or you're a veteran in some other country, UK, wherever. If you know how horrible war is, if you've seen the horrible realities of war, you should be not only anti-war, you should arm yourself up and protect the people protesting these wars, particularly the people in Tel Aviv who like to protest these things. You should be protecting them from the police and from clamping down on the police. You're war savvy. You know what war looks like. So you should be able to tactically work along with these people so that they can have peaceful protests. And anything happens or erupts, you should be able to find the agitators who want to agitate things. And you should also be able to protect the protesters from the police. If you're armed, the police will have to take you out first. And if they go at you, you are free to go at them. So that's why I said, and then arrest them. It's important that people stand up for their rights and they're not bullied. I hate bullies. Okay. And I'm just a normal human being in this world, just a Christian dude. But I'm going to let y'all guys know, and I know our Christians swear it a couple times, but it's just because my heart can't take it. Listen, you guys are going to have to civilly disobey. There are laws being passed, supposedly anti-Semitic laws, which bend the ruling of what anti-Semitism is, which are going to affect a lot of Jewish people out there. I'm very sorry for you Jewish people who are going to be targeted because of these things. And the pushback is going to be epic, and it's going to be very racist. Unfortunately, that's not good for Jewish people, but it is what it is. By skewing the definition of anti-Semitism, the pushback is going to be epic. I've already heard people saying blanketly that Jews are responsible for this, and it's Jews this and Jews that. And real anti-Semitism is coming out of this. And it's because people are seeing injustices being done and nothing being done about it. And they're pushing back on that. And so it's unfortunate that the well-meaning Jews, the Jews who really practice Judaism, the Jews who are really good people, who really are leading the charge in this fight against this oppressive regime and oppressive system worldwide, not just only with respect to Israel and Palestine, but also with respect to racism on American soil that has been perfected by, all these IDF training sessions and stuff with police and stuff. And also the, proliferation of destabilization of nations through, these intelligence agencies of the empire to keep them in check. Having seen all of this, now we know the true story. I think it's very important that we keep allies. Our allies are of every single ethnicity, of every single religion, of every single. You're Muslim, you're Hindu, you're Buddhist, you're a Jew, you're whatever you are. We need to align with you, even if you're an atheist, because humanity's on the line here. This is not just. This is not just some arbitrary thing happening in some arbitrary part of the world. No, this is actually connected to all of us. And what is happening, if anybody stands up and talks out against the system is going to be considered a terrorist. And they're passing laws, draconian laws, to make that happen. So it's very important that people understand this. And you need to civilly disobey. It's called civil disobedience for a reason. It's there because the spirit of the law has to be held and not just the letter of the law. The letter of the law, people can make bad law. And the only way they're going to know that it's bad law is when the people don't accept it and the people reject it and they literally have to rebel against it. They have to have civil disobedience. That's what happened in the Black Power movement. That's what made laws change to include more people. And that's what will need to happen here. So, of course, the United States of America only has power because the individual states give it the power. When the individual states say, fuck the federal government, we're not doing it, and we're going to rebel, again, that's fair. The state can do what it wants. It's agreement among the states to be a United States. So it's all these things I'm saying to put people into perspective so they can understand how much and how important it is that you get proper representation, one. Two, that governments are not corrupted and steps and measures are put in place so the governments are not corrupted. Okay? Because I'm telling you right now, it's very important in this stage of the world's development that if any kind of semblance of Western truths and Western belief systems are somehow retained as this world evolves into something else, if that is to happen, the only way that's going to happen is if the people on the ground in these individual Western countries take back the power into their hands. France did a great job taking back the power into their hands in terms of electing a proper government that supports Palestine. The problem with it is, on the ground, there's still mechanisms and systems in place that need to be checked. It's cool that you have people elected who represent what you want, but now you still have systemic, you have policing that's just ridiculous. You have atrocities done against people who are protesting. Of course, people are not going to stop protesting because of that, and they don't give a fuck. But I'm saying that, these are things that have to be addressed. So, you guys need to take action. And one part of action is civil disobedience. And you have to go down that road if you want to say, listen, this government here does not represent me. This government doesn't represent us. This is not what we want. Our mandate is this. And the best way to express that, which is very powerful, is to elect a government that represents how you feel as a human being. I don't give a fuck what you came from. I don't care if you're Hindu, Muslim. I don't care what religion you come from. I don't care if you're a Republican mostly or a Democrat. If the regime that you're looking at, their policies, I don't give a fuck about their rhetoric. Their policies fall in line with what you would like to see. I don't care that Barack Obama and all these assholes are supporting her. I couldn't give a fuck. What I care about is her policies. And her policies are not different to Joe Biden's. And we know that because she's in power right now. So to elect her would be a slap in the face to all the changes and measures that we're saying we want. Okay? Which is, you want higher minimum wage. You want homelessness to go away and people get more housing. And when we say housing, we're not talking about project housing. No, we're talking about proper housing, but affordable. And how to change the market for us so that these big companies don't buy up all the real estate. All these corporations are buying up real estate. That's what's going on. It's an oligarchy that's going on, and we have to stop it. Give back the power to the people, because that oligarchy is not paying their fair share of the tax-paying dollars. And they're not giving back to society. They're swallowing up all the money and they're keeping it in their multinational companies, further draining the economies of the individual countries they are in. This is the reality. They have to give back. They must be responsible to give back. And that's what they're not doing. And we, the people, have to ensure we can't force them to do things they don't want to do, but we can give them incentives to do the things. Come here. All right. And we have to show them what the needs are of the people, and they must address those needs. That is what needs to happen. This was a false flag. Bassem Youssef has basically been censored from Twitter. He said his family's being threatened, and so he's off of Twitter. Twitter has tried to censor me a number of times. They've tried to take my page down a couple of times, saying that I'm a bot or something like that. After I put up posts about Palestine, I can give a fuck. Nina Turner, what I want is an arms embargo for those committing genocide to be held accountable in the international court. What I also want to see is a Palestinian American speak the truth and hopefully raise the consciousness of a nation. I will not shut up ever. She's right. So these are all 169 journalists are killed in 19 days. There's more journalists that have been killed, actually, since then in Gaza. Again, Israel doesn't want any coverage of Gaza because they know there are atrocities they're committing in there. But their soldiers are pretty much broadcasting their atrocities all over the place. So it's counterproductive, kind of retarded, really. Francis Architecture said that satellite imagery from November 2023 to July 2024 reveals the evidence of new Israeli military corridor east of Gaza City. This new corridor is the second Israeli-built east-west passage through Gaza after the so-called Netzarim corridor. These corridors are infrastructural indications of an intended permanent Israeli military presence in the northern parts of the occupied Gaza Strip. So they're, like I said, they look like they want to occupy permanently the northern Gaza Strip, and they don't want people living there. Richard Medhurst, and I'm showing you the censorship again. I was arrested at Heathrow Airport under the Terrorism Act, Section 12, because of my reporting. 6 police officers were waiting for me at the entrance of the aircraft. I was held for almost 24 hours and questioned. I believe I'm the first journalist to be arrested under the provision for the Terrorism Act. I feel that this is a political persecution and hampers my ability to work as a journalist. And we're going to go into this in detail because it's very important. Again, all of this in real time. And again, he's considered a terrorist for criticizing Israel and supporting some of Hamas's policies and Hezbollah, etc. He's considered a terrorist, even though no member of his family and himself have ever been terrorists. In fact, members of his family have actually fought in the UK Army. Let's go into it. Richard Medhurst. I do.
And my wrists on top of, rather than next to each other. My name is Richard Thomas Medhurst. I'm an internationally accredited journalist from the United Kingdom. On Thursday, as I landed in London Heathrow Airport, I was immediately escorted off the plane by 6 police officers who were waiting for me at the entrance of the aircraft. They arrested me, not detained, they arrested me under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act of 2000 and accused me of allegedly, quote, expressing an opinion or belief that is supportive of a prescribed organization, unquote, but wouldn't explain.
So they're saying he's with Hamas because, you know, he's in agreement with Hamas. And let me ask you a question. If you agree with Hamas on certain principled things, that doesn't mean that you wholeheartedly agree with Hamas. That's the first thing. The second thing is that freedom of speech. He's free to say whatever he wants. The question is he in collusion with Hamas? Is he colluding with Hamas to do different things? If you cannot prove that, then what the fuck are you arresting him for? Okay, so they tried to intimidate him. And he talks in more detail about this. You can check my Twitter for that if my Twitter's still out.
Oh, look, mate, you can get nicked right here in front of everyone or in there, your choice. So I was taken to an adjacent room, patted down, my phone confiscated. I was not allowed to inform my family. Despite being calm and cooperative, I was handcuffed with something that placed my shoulders in an awkward position and my wrists on top of rather than next to each other. The handcuffs were extremely tight. Despite the police loosening them, they left marks on me for 2 days. The police took me down onto the runway, put me in a police van, essentially a mobile cage, and informed me that everything was being recorded. The van was cramped. I had to struggle the entire time to keep my balance and try not to fall over as we drove to the police station. Now, once inside the station, they searched me again for the second time within 10 minutes. I was told to sit on a bench, remove my shoes, remove my socks. I was told to turn my socks inside out and hold them up for the officers to inspect. They also made me hold up my feet so they could check them as well. The officers took me to a room with UV lights, which they told me is used to catch burglars who are sprayed with something. I have no idea why they did this since they just removed me off of a plane. My suitcase was then opened in the lobby and ransacked. All of my journalistic equipment and devices were seized, including phones, SIM cards, wireless microphones, headphones, even my shoelaces. They later took my DNA as well, my fingerprints, palm prints, and photographed me. I was placed in solitary confinement in a cold cell that smelt like urine. There was barely any light, and the bed, if you can even call it a bed, was simply a small concrete ledge with a paper-thin mattress. The cell had no windows, no heating, no toilet paper. I was recorded 24/7 with audio and video, even when going to the toilet. I had to eat food with a piece of cardboard that you were supposed to fold in two in order to scoop up the meal. The police said that I have the right to inform someone that I'm locked up. So I said, okay, I want to call my family. And then they'd go, well, your calls are withheld because of the nature of the alleged offense. I tried to ask, well, what's the point of a right if you can just randomly withdraw it? Why tell me that I have this right at all? And one of them said something along the lines of, well, it's not an absolute right, it can be waived. Similarly, they said I had the right to know why I was being detained. So I asked again, and the police would say something like, well, we're just the arresting officers, we don't really know. Or this will be explained to you during the interview, or some other generic response. Now, despite the police officer's civility and cheerfulness, I felt that the whole process was designed to humiliate, intimidate, and dehumanize me and treat me like a criminal, even though they must have been aware of my background and that I'm a journalist. I was under surveillance almost the entire time from the moment I was arrested until I was released, be it in the police van, in the station, the cell, all of it. No privacy whatsoever. Many of my requests were also delayed or outright ignored. When I was detained, I asked for water several times. The police would always say, sure, but then I ended up waiting hours for a tiny cup of water. I asked if I could have my own clothes because I was in a t-shirt. It was cold and I couldn't sleep. They said they'd give me a pullover, but never did, although one guard did give me a second blanket. So you have to nag and nag for the most basic things, and this is why I was afraid that they weren't even going to call a solicitor for me. I was able to see the nurse on one occasion, but on 3 other occasions, when I asked to see the nurse, they'd say yes and then nothing. For many hours, no one in the world knew what had happened to me or where I was. Only the police could call a solicitor for me. I had to ask like 4 or 5 different guards for several hours until I finally received a call. Some of my solicitor's calls did not get through or were not answered. One of the calls, my solicitor was told, would be monitored, and so they simply refused to take it. I asked to speak to the solicitor afterwards when that happened, but I was not allowed to. In total, I spent almost 24 hours in detention. At no point whatsoever was I allowed to speak to a family member or a friend. After waiting 15 hours, I was finally interviewed by 2 detectives. The interview lasted about an hour and a half, maybe something like that. So there's clearly no need to hold me there this entire time. But I believe this was done on purpose to try and rattle me psychologically. That failed. I categorically and utterly reject all the accusations by the police. I am not a terrorist. I have no criminal record. Prior to this incident, I'd never been detained in my entire life. I'm a product of the diplomatic community, and I'm raised to be anti-war. Both of my parents won Nobel Peace Prizes for their work as United Nations peacekeepers. They had a tremendous effect on my worldview and outlook and instilled in me the importance of diplomacy, international law, and peace. I myself am a victim of terrorism. When I attended the British school in Islamabad, the Egyptian embassy adjacent to my school was blown up in a double bombing. I categorically and unequivocally condemn terrorism. I am a Medhurst. My family goes back 1,000 years in this country. I come from a long line of public servants. My father served in the London Metropolitan Police before entering the United Nations. He is an expert and an authority on counter-terrorism who taught me much. My grandfather was in the Royal Air Force during World War II, and his father before him in the British Army in World War I. I perhaps don't have the same career paths as them, but I consider my journalism to be a public service and my way of doing my bit for the country by providing a counterweight to mainstream media. I love my country. I respect its laws and its legal institutions. I get the feeling, nevertheless, that those like myself who are speaking up and reporting on the situation in Palestine are being targeted. I had booked my ticket to London on the same day, and yet an entire team of police were mobilized to arrest and question me. This is why I felt that this was a pre-planned, coordinated arrest. Many people have been detained in Britain because of their connection to journalism, sometimes under the Terrorism Act, sometimes not. I think of Julian Assange, Craig Murray, Kit Clarenberg, David Miranda, Vanessa Beeley. As far as I'm aware, I'm the only journalist, however, to have been arrested and held for up to 24 hours under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act. Keep in mind the conditions that I outlined previously. The psychological element where you're made to wait endlessly. You've not been told what you're accused of, nor when you'll be questioned. Now, despite having been released unconditionally, I do not feel that my bail is truly unconditional. I'm effectively in limbo, not knowing if I will be charged in 3 months or if I will go to prison. Journalism is my livelihood. I have an ethical and a moral responsibility toward the general public to inform. But I feel that a muzzle has been placed on me. I simply do not know if or how I can work at all during the next months. Palestine, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, remain the most pressing news story in the world. However, it seems that any statement, no matter how innocent, how factual and well-intentioned, can be skewed and twisted into an offense of the highest order. This is precisely the danger and the absurdity of the Terrorism Act that I have always sought to impress upon the public, long before I ever became a victim of it myself. It is out of control. It has no place in a democracy. Counter-terrorism laws should be used to fight actual terrorism, not journalism. We cannot call ourselves a democracy as long as reporters are dragged off of planes and detained and treated like murderers. I am disgusted that I am being politically persecuted in my own country. Now, as I do not know if I can still report as a journalist for the next months, I kindly ask you for your support during these times. Freedom of the press, freedom of speech really are under attack. The state is cracking down and escalating to try and stop people from speaking out against our government's complicity in genocide. Please stand not just with me, but with the others who are still inside. I know what they're going through, and the best relief is to know that people on the outside are rooting for you and doing everything they can to get you out. Thank you. My name is Richard Thomas Medhurst.
Okay, so that was a very important part, that freedom of speech, and as I said, is draconian, and we're dealing with fascism right now. A world which is moving towards fascism. It's been moving towards fascism for a little while, but it's really it's heating up into that direction. Okay. Here they are, Israeli soldiers firing at journalists. Journalists are always enemies of people committing atrocities. Israel retrieves the corpses of 6 captives who were most likely killed as a result of saturation bombing of the Gaza Strip, and considers this a significant military achievement. That's how it's going for the genocidal army. Truth be told, brother, this is Moen Rabbani, that they want them dead. They don't want any hostages. They'd be happy if all the hostages die. That's the truth. Okay. So we have another, this is the big pro-Palestinian rally at Chicago. This is the anti-Semitism law that they're going to pass. Oh, this is really awesome. So today, actually, the trailer for the piano lessons should drop. So I'm looking forward to getting some more heads up on that. That's Ray Fisher was in that. It was it was a Broadway play, and now it's going to be as a movie. So that should be really cool. This is Piers Morgan.
Rights that you do, right? They have to have this. You're never going to get rid of this problem until every Palestinian has the same human rights that you do, right? They have to have the same rights as you, and if they don't, why shouldn't they? Explain to me why they don't have the same rights. Especially when this all started, and Israel, the first response was to turn off the energy and the water and the food supplies into Gaza. Right there, you had evidence of the occupation, as the critics of Israel had called this for many decades, that when you have a power like Israel that has the ability to turn off large swathes of energy and water into another country, right, that is a form of occupation. Whether they want to call it that or not, that cannot be sustainable going forward. You've got to offer people in Palestine equal rights. You've got to give them the chance to self-govern properly.
The Israelis are tearing the water pipes apart in West Bank, and that's a Palestinian man trying to keep the pipes going.
Never going to get rid of this problem until every Palestinian has the same human rights that you do.
The Israeli Air Force
have to have the same rights as you.
A building where Israeli soldiers were kept. So all of these atrocities are happening, man. All these atrocities are happening. All right. Let me just cover a couple more things here before I wrap it up. Oh yeah, Ukraine banned Orthodox Christianity. They recently seem to have done that. Okay. This is more of the DCEU. Tell you, man, Jill Stein's the one you guys got to vote for. That's what you got to vote for. Okay, let me see what we got here. Butch Ware is the VP that Jill Stein is running with, so that should be cool. If you guys haven't listened to the Senate call, it's really awesome, and you guys should check it out. In Rebel Moon, Admiral Atticus Noble never takes that cup of ale from Sindri nor his wife, instead striking them down real style before the villagers. And he finishes it off by saying, "Oh, it's simple. I want everything." Yeah, the Senate calls. You guys should check it out. It's really cool. Yeah, an Eagle Eye fan was able to see the similarity between RebelMoon's Imperial Dreadnought ship and the German submarine of the sixth class during and just post World War II. Primarily the U-995 U-boat and such like. Interesting seeing the correlations between the Imperium and Nazi Germany. So this is the Imperium Dreadnought, and the thing about it is the front of the U-boat. The U-boat usually has a round front. This one has like more of a almost looks like a ship, sort of like, and just its structure and everything kind of reminds us of the Imperium Dreadnought somewhat. Okay. Greater Israel. Israeli PM Netanyahu said, in the future, Israel has to control the entire area, that's Palestine, from the river to the sea. He's rejected the notion of Palestinian statehood, as has the Knesset. They want everything. Yeah, you just saw Atticus Noble say, "I want everything," right? No space sci-fi has ever connected the people to the land and grain as Rebel Moon. Cora warns that the Imperium ship does not represent prosperity. Its purpose is to subjugate and to enslave. Partnership is not in its vocabulary, as partnership is not in Israel's vocabulary. It doesn't want another nation near to it. It wants to take over everything. It has been the same for the Palestinian occupation, and here are some examples. Israel must end its occupation of Palestine to stop fueling apartheid and systematic human rights violations. Israel must end its brutal occupation of Gaza, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, which has maintained since 1967, said Amnesty International, as public hearings begin into the International Court of Justice to examine the legal consequences of Israel's prolonged occupation. Of course, that International Court of Justice came to the verdict that there is apartheid and several other things. Hamas rejects the new U.S. proposal for Gaza, the hostage ceasefire. Hamas on Sunday rejected an updated U.S. proposal for ceasefire deal in Gaza, blaming Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu for moving the goalposts and the U.S. for indulging him. Why it matters. The White House has claimed significant progress been made during talks in Doha over the last several days. The rejection of the new proposal, which was presented to parties on Friday, makes President Biden's goal of dealing with the deal this week almost impossible. A stalemate in the negotiation will also make an attack by Iran and Hezbollah against Israel much more likely. Both Tehran and Hezbollah have vowed revenge for Israeli assassinations in Beirut and Tehran, but have held their fire so far because they were looking at the negotiations. It would also not allow the free movement of civilians from southern Gaza to the north because it endorses Netanyahu's demand for the control of the Nazarene corridor. The proposal would also give Israel control of the Rafah crossing and the Philadelphia corridor along the Egyptian-Gaza border, as Netanyahu has demanded per Hamas statement. Hamas said Netanyahu also reversed previous concessions and set new conditions in the prisoner exchange process. All this prevents the completion of the exchange, Hamas said. Zoom out. The Palestinian death toll in the war has crossed 40,000, according to the health ministry in Hamas around Gaza. 1,600 Israelis have been killed since October 7, and 115 hostages are still held in Gaza, well, it's much less now. The latest, Biden told reporters on Sunday after Hamas released its statement that the Gaza hostage and ceasefire talks are still ongoing. We are not giving up. It's still possible, Biden said. It's all just a smoke and mirrors, ladies and gentlemen. He's stalling so that Netanyahu can finish the job. Police don't prevent crime. They show up after it happens. Crime prevention starts with the funding social programs and creating opportunity, which is very correct. You want to have preventative measures, not something where something happens and then you have the police. This is also Norway supporting Palestine. In RebelMoon DC, we see how developed people are tied to the land, but we also see how welcoming the people are of off-worlder Korah. So the one thing again, and there's a lie about Palestinians. They're very inviting people. They like you to see their situation, what they're going under. Even Hamas with the hostages, they wanted the hostages to see what they went under. Both are critical elements seen in the connection of the Palestinians to the land, while in the earlies, welcome the Ashkenazi Jews to it. So this is a thing here. So you see the settlers there, and this is the wheat, and here they are again. And we see also the wheat develop over time in different seasons. This is Korah with the harvest. This is the harvest time here. This is again Jimmy in the harvest. So I just thought this was really awesome. Yeah, we got judo Nazis, man. This is actually 2024, and you see the sign still on him there. And this is, and this is 1941. In the very beginning of RebelMoon DC, we see the ugliness of war, execution of civilians, stripping naked, and branding of the priestess of Toa. We see this in Gaza, Somalia, Congo, with the execution of civilians and stripping them naked, enslaving, raping, and torturing them in prisons. And I give the example of Gaza. Here they are. These men, they are all civilians. They're considered Hamas, but they're not. The assassination of these people into mass graves. The retention into prison, concentration camp prisons. So, I'm just saying. RebelMoon's director's cut shows suicide bombing as resistance against the enemy oppressor. We saw the Toan primate Bergen detonate himself in order to protect the royal family from the Imperium. We also saw Velt Farmer detonate himself to prevent the Imperium from overrunning the tunnel system. And, it gives you a perspective on suicide bombing. Like, a lot of people don't realize these people's lives are so shitty that they want to fight back in some way, shape, or form. And what they did was they attacked places in the occupied territories where Jewish people were, or where Israelis were. And that's what they did. They would, blow up buses and stuff like that. This was their way of fighting back, because they were not going to just lie down and die and take the brutal occupation. They were not going to do that. They fought back. People say it's terrorism, which is true. But the point is that where did this terrorism come from? If there was no occupation, this wouldn't happen. You know what I'm saying? People are fighting back. They're trying to find a way to fight back. That's what it is. I never let go of the Snyder Cut, and I'm not letting go of DC Snyderverse either. I hope some other... Okay, I remember seeing this. All right, so... I just wanted to go through all those things. There's a lot more, but I'll have to leave it for another time. I'll leave it for another time. But I just wanted to leave that there. I spent 2 hours on this. Oh, a lot of you guys smashed the like button. Don't forget you can like, share, subscribe. You can also donate via PayPal. The link is in the description. Let me just see if you guys were talking on here. There we go. Probably chatted a lot. Yep. Yasin says, hey, yo. Bobby Wiskowski says, why is Elon a joker? He's a joker. He is, definitely. When did this happen? Please share. Somebody's asking me when something happened. Please share. If you guys leave some more comments, I'll be able to see and I'll be able to respond to you. All you got to do is make a comment. So when you make a comment, I guess the comments pop back up. But they're not going to pop back up otherwise. That's my wrap up for now, guys. I got more on RebelMoon for you guys, but and how current it really is in the world today. I spent 2 hours on this because I was very passionate about it. I really felt like I needed to speak about this. But you guys have a blessed day. Again, Warner Brothers stock. Let's see what Warner Brothers stock is right now today. I don't know what it is. Let's go see. Okay, hold on a second. Try and get that real quick. Yep, today it is $7.62. So it's dropped. So it's around $7. It's just been dropping and dropping, and it's going to continue to drop no matter what they do. And again, we know why this is happening. For those of you who know about Restore the Snyderverse, they just refused to restore the Snyderverse, and that's all they needed to do. And they still can do it. And they just refused to do that. So that's on them. They're going to learn how valuable Zack Snyder really is to them. And, you know, because he started something and they didn't finish it. And we're not going to forgive them for that, you know. And they have nothing better to replace it anyway. So it is what it is. All right. It's been fun talking to you guys. It's 2 hours and 2 minutes, almost 3 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up right here. I am Christ, I am Disciple. You've been watching my channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I see you guys. You can leave a little bit more comments. If you leave a couple more comments, I'll be able to respond to you. Somebody said something. I didn't get to see it. Hold on. I'm going to try and still get to see it. Hold on. I'm going to do a little something that will kind of forget. You can donate via PayPal. The link is in the description. If you want to share this video, you can share it. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe. These are some of the drop ships leaving the Dreadnought there. If you want to you want to leave comments, leave some comments. I'll be happy to receive the comments as well, you know. So I hope you guys have a great day. I'm about to get out of here, but you guys can always, if you're in Trinidad and Tobago area, don't forget you can support LIBE Products. They're not all having brand names on them, but you know, things will come to be as they are, and so we'll talk a little bit about it. By the way, what I'm showing you in front of you right now are containers. They are houses that are containers, and container houses, and then you have also mini houses here. All right, this is Eyes Wide Shut and Dirty Dancing and stuff like that, and this is boxing and so on. This is some stuff again that happened. This is Bricks. Bricks is now added new members and stuff like that. So I'll catch you guys later. I am Christ, I am Disciple. If you guys got any comments you want to share with me in the next couple of seconds, you better give it to me now, because I'm out of here in 3, 2, 1.